A U.S. team on a secret mission to Iran, negotiating the freedom of American hostages. The voice is Oliver North.
10 hours immediately after their release, the airplane will land with the remaining missile targets.
A charge has been made that the United States has shipped weapons to Iran as ransom payment for the release of American hostages in Lebanon. Those charges are utterly false.
Before I left Washington, Bill Casey had calmly handed me a strip of 6 white triangular pills in a sealed plastic wrapper. "Take these with you," he said. "You may need them if things get bad."
A Nightline exclusive. A conversation with Oliver North. The first interview since the Iran-Contra scandal. Now reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Colonel North, welcome back. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, but we need to begin with some of the reaction generated by Oliver North's appearance on this broadcast last night. Colonel North has expressed his conviction that President Reagan knew everything about the Iran-Contra affair. To support that allegation, he cites several pieces of circumstantial evidence. A quote from CIA Director William Casey, his last words to a relative. "He'll never get away with it," Casey is alleged to have said. You said you thought that Casey was probably talking about Ronald Reagan and Iran-Contra. We received a call today from Mr. Casey's widow, Sophia. She described Colonel North's conjecture as a fantasy and a lie. We played an audio tape for you last night on which 2 unidentified male voices talk about Reagan and a smoking gun in the closet. You suggested that one of the voices might have belonged to Ed Hickey, who was director of the White House Military Office and an assistant to President Reagan. Ed Hickey is also dead, but his widow sent a letter to me today saying that she and several of her sons who listened to the tape are convinced that none of the voices was that of her late husband. Colonel North also told me last night that he and his lawyer, Brendan Sullivan, had been contacted by 3 men, each of whom had urged North to give up his Fifth Amendment rights and clear President Reagan's name. I've spoken with all 3, H. Ross Perot, Paul Laxalt, and retired Lieutenant Colonel Terry Matke, a former military aide to then Vice President Bush. All 3 deny the allegation. We'll get Colonel North's reaction shortly. First, though, this report from Nightline correspondent Jeff Greenfield.
The hearing will please come to order.
More than 4 years after Marine Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North held the fate of a president and the attention of the nation in his hands, he has spoken again, and old ghosts are stirring.
I believe when you look at all of this, that there's ample evidence to me to convince me that the president knew everything.
Why is this assertion drawing national attention? Not because of any hard proof, but because of how different history would have been had it been shown that Ronald Reagan knew that funds from the arms sales to Iran were being diverted to help the Nicaraguan Contras. Arthur Lyman was counsel to the Senate members of the Iran-Contra Committee.
If the case had been made on the diversion, then the president would have been impeached. The case had been made that the president had directed the cover-up, which Oliver North testified about at length, as did other witnesses. The president would have been impeached.
The only hint of evidence offered by North is a mysterious tape, allegedly capturing a conversation accidentally recorded during a routinely taken between 2 Citibank employees.
And there's a smoking gun in the closet.
What?
Reagan knows.
Today, Lyman politely but pointedly regretted that independent counsel Lawrence Walsh had not brought that tape to the committee's attention.
It seems to me that the independent counsel should have been able to identify the participants if the tape is not a hoax, and that I would have liked to have known.
Other assertions of North's were firmly denied. North says that billionaire H. Ross Perot came to his lawyers in late 1986 as a White House emissary with a message to exonerate President Reagan and an offer of financial help.
I told him in the meeting that I felt that a man who was prepared to die for his country should be prepared to tell the truth for his country, and that it looked terrible for a Naval Academy graduate to take the Fifth Amendment, and if they would simply tell the truth, put all the facts on the table, and get this over with in a few days, I would pay his legal bills, take care of his family if he went to jail, and help him get started when he got out.
The only persons in the United States government that knew precisely about this, the only person was Lieutenant Colonel North. The president knew nothing about it until I reported it to him. I alerted him
From
yesterday
former
morning.
Attorney General Ed Meese, who first revealed the story of the diversion, came this response.
I think as far as history is concerned, people are going to go back to look at what are the identifiable facts, what has been proved, what hasn't been proved, and on that basis, I think the facts, as we discovered them that weekend and as they were later borne out by the committee, that Ronald Reagan did have nothing to do with, nor did he know of, the diversion of funds. I think that is what history will show.
For Reagan opponents, the book shows that the effort to evade the law was an administration-wide policy.
And when you have dozens of high officials running around raising money for the Contras from third countries and going along with arms deals with the Ayatollah, no wonder North felt like he was authorized and that the president would have gone along with it.
For Reagan loyalists, like Congressman Henry Hyde, North's assertions raise a dilemma. During the Iran-Contra hearings, championing Oliver North was a way of defending the beleaguered President Reagan.
I thank you.
Now that North has accused Reagan of concealing his knowledge and of abandoning his troops, where does Congressman Hyde come down? Squarely in the middle.
I'm just unwilling to believe the president would willfully lie to the American people. I don't think he did. Oliver North has a different perspective, and as I say, one that I can be very sympathetic with. But I, as both a North supporter and a Reagan supporter, I still support both without reaching the conclusions that Ollie reaches in his book.
And how will history remember North? Ben Bradley Jr. was Oliver North's biographer.
History will not judge him very kindly. I think that he'll be remembered as the person who symbolized and in fact championed an extra-legal foreign policy, flouted the law of the land, pursuing what he and others believe to be in the national interest.
What makes Oliver North's book so significant is the mindset of the author. Most attacks on President Reagan come from those who never shared his worldview or his political premises. But these assertions, that Reagan concealed the truth of what he knew in order to save himself, come not from the liberal left, but from one of the most loyal foot soldiers in the Reagan Revolution. I'm Jeff Greenfield for Nightline.
And Colonel North will have a chance to respond to some of those responses when we come back live in just a moment.
This Nightline exclusive is brought to you by Infinity.
It took time and hard work. No one had ever done it before. The technology that combined front-wheel drive and multi-link suspension simply didn't exist. 5 years later, there was the Infinity G20 midsize luxury sedan. And the chance to discover what's already been called one of the best handling cars in the world is right around the corner.
All across America, people are throwing in the towel. The scrub brush, the rubber gloves, and refusing to wash all their dishes before they wash their dishes. They're turning off their faucets and turning on the Maytag Jet Clean dishwasher that scrubs with 47 powerful jets, filters, then disposes. It's made to get dishes clean, no strings attached. Or a repairman. The Jet Clean dishwasher from Maytag, the dependability people.
It was minutes before the biggest race of my life. The starter had called us to the starting line, and we started taking our sweats off. And as I pulled my sweat off, it kind of rubbed my eye. I reached down to pull the contact out, and I realized that I had ripped it. It was a very different and very scary feeling going down that runway. And now, after the RK surgery, now my eyes are 20/20. When I open my eyes in the morning, I can see just as clear as everybody else.
This is Dolly. She's wrinkled. This is the Pure Wool Plus One suit from Nordstrom. It's not wrinkled. Good dog. Shamelessly wrinkled. Comfortable, good-looking, and definitely not wrinkled. Creased, crinkled, pleated, furrowed, and downright corrugated. Not so the suit. Okay, so Dolly can fetch.
The largest Medicare health maintenance plan in America may be cutting costs by cutting care.
I don't trust them at all.
Primetime investigates Thursday.
And we are back live with Colonel Oliver North. Pick up with Sophia Casey. She says fantasy, lie. In fact, what she said to us was that for the last 2 months of his life, her husband, Bill Casey, was paralyzed from head to toe, couldn't even talk.
As I indicated in the book, Ted, that was information passed to me by a relative at the wake. She didn't say it happened the last day or the last week or the last month. She said that those were among the last words that Bill Casey had said to her.
In the last days of his life, you write in the book.
And indeed, I have no reason to disbelieve that. What you've done is you've assembled, it seems to me, a fair collection of the same cast of characters that wanted indeed to cast this guy over the side.
This guy being you.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, Ted, in those last days and in the immediate days following my departure from the White House, there was no effort to have me tell the truth. None of those people that came to me, none of this correspondence that was delivered to my lawyer says anything about the truth. It says exonerate the president. In fact, the exact words are, President Reagan had no prior knowledge of the operative facts, transactions, and occurrences relating to what
are you reading from?
I am reading from a letter sent to my attorneys by Senator Laxalt, urging that I go out, waive my Fifth Amendment protections that my attorneys had said I needed to avail myself of. Ross Perot did not urge me to tell the truth.
Let me ask you to stay on Senator Laxalt for a moment, because I spoke with him this afternoon, and I must say, of all the responses that I've gotten, his was the weakest, because he didn't remember who asked him to deliver that legal memorandum, as he described it. Would you also consider, I mean, that's really a memorandum that advises you that if you were to exonerate the president, you would not be voiding your own Fifth Amendment rights. Right?
Among other things, it suggests the language that might be used not only by me, but by Admiral Poindexter. And the facts are, when Ross Perot or when Paul Laxalt or a military aide came, the entire quest was exonerate the president, waive your Fifth Amendment protections, and go out and make this kind of a statement that says that the president had no prior knowledge, etc. Ross Perot did not talk about the truth. He did not come, as I said last night, as the roving ambassador of the truth. He came to get me to exonerate the president. He never offered to pay my legal bills, and if he's disputing that, he's not just disputing my word, he's disputing the word of Brendan Sullivan, and if he wants to bite off a piece of that potted plant, let him chew all he wants. The fact of the matter is that what happened to me, okay, in those last days, and as I moved on toward that hearing, were very clearly efforts, as I perceived them, by an administration that had made a great effort to distance itself from anything that I had done.
You have never called it a cover-up, but it sounds as though that's what you're describing.
Well, what the actual effect of all of that is to deny things that had been going on since 1984.
Is that a cover-up?
I'm going to let you use the words.
No, I'm just asking you, and I'm asking you whether you find anything offensive about that word, or whether you would accept it as an accurate description.
No, I don't accept a lot of what has been said in the last 24 hours as an accurate description at all. I hear the words accuse the president. I hear the words flouted the law, extra legal, attacks on the president in the warm-up that got us to this point right here. And none of that is the essence of this book. This book is my experience of 5.5 years in that administration, in extraordinary events, serving a president that literally changed the world for the better.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. No, let me finish. Ted, you cut me off last night on that. Let me finish.
Colonel North, you didn't just fall off the turnip truck either. Yeah. You knew that when you wrote that in that book, that would be the lead of every story that was going to be written about.
Wrong.
That was going to. You didn't know that?
Ted, wrong. The lead that was picked up by the various magazines, right there. The lead that was picked up
by the newspapers.
By the newspapers
by
is
television.
Their decision and yours and the like to choose what it is you want to focus on. one line out of a 446-page book.
What would you have picked as the lead of that book? I'm asking you. You've had some experience with the media now. You know what a lead is. What's the headline of that book, if not that?
I would have thought maybe something about the ability to persevere in adversity. I would have thought that there's all kinds of things about, why not pick the lead about how Ronald Reagan changed the world, which is in the book.
Well, maybe that's why you were in the Marine Corps and I chose journalism. Let me ask you something about the charge you made last night, and I forget the precise words, but it was that you were, in a sense, almost savaged by some people at the White House, that they not only cut you off, cut you adrift. What was the phrase you used last night? Do you remember?
If you could refresh my recollection, Senator, I'm sure I'd have it.
I can't. Who do you think was behind that, though? I mean, however you want to categorize it, however.
I really don't know. I would like to know. I think that there were a lot of people at various levels in the various competing hierarchies of the White House who had a hand in that. Clearly, that's not something that Ronald Reagan personally orchestrated. I have my suspicions. I believe it could well have come from the Chief of Staff's office, a number of the people in there.
John Reagan at that time?
Well, his office. I mean, I was told by former colleagues at the White House that these were the people that were putting out the word that North was not to be trusted, that North was off on his own, that this was a wild man, a renegade operating from the basement of the White House.
What about
You
Mrs.
heard those
Reagan?
stories. I have no reason to know that it was Mrs. Reagan.
No, I'm not asking you what you know. There's no way you should know it or could know it, but what does your nose tell you on that one?
I'm sure that Mrs. Reagan, based on the things that she said publicly that I saw, read, and heard, felt grievously offended by the way my actions were portrayed throughout that period of time, up through the hearings.
You think this notion of using the diversion as a diversion, which is something you have also charged in your book, that's the kind of thing that Nancy Reagan might have approved of?
I'm not saying it was Nancy Reagan. I'm thinking, what I said is I think it was a very convenient distraction to use the diversion as the focal point for all of what transpired between November of 1986 and the end of the hearings in 87.
All right, Colonel North, we're going to take a break. When we come back, that famous first trip to Tehran, and what I promise you are some fascinating background stories of what happened on that trip in a moment.
Where do you want to be in 20 years?
Well, my father worked for the same company for 39 years. He got 2 weeks vacation, but we never traveled far. He was saving to put 3 kids through college. At 65, he retired. At 67, he died. How can I invest so that after my kids graduate, I can enjoy the second half of my life?
You can get there from here with Shearson Lehman Brothers.
The white zone is for immediate.
We didn't design the new Mazda MX-3 to be like apple pie. Jalapenos were what we had in mind. Because if something's not worth having an opinion about it, it's not worth having. And with the only V6 in its class, the MX-3 is one hot chili pepper. Hey, you're not John Doe. Why drive his car? The new MX-3 from the new Mazda.
It just feels right!
Even when it comes to luxury cars, there's nothing like word-of-mouth advertising. Lincoln Town Car is the epitome of unabashed American-style luxury.
The people have spoken. America's #1 dream car is Lincoln Town Car.
Our readers' poll declared Lincoln Town Car as the best domestic automobile by a wide margin.
See your 5-star Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Food reporter Bert Wolf for Puritan Oil from the makers of Crisco.
The newspapers are filled with saturated fat. If you're reading the stories and cooking smarter for your family, and you'd like to know once and for all which type of cooking oil is lowest in saturated fat, read the back of the Puritan label. Here's the most common vegetable oil. Here's olive oil, corn oil, and Puritan oil. It's lower than all three. Puritan oil, 94% unsaturated. No oil is lower. Now here's a smart way to make a chicken stir fry. With skinless chicken, white meat only. It has less fat, but it still tastes great because Crisco makes Puritan oil. And they make it to let the delicious, light taste of your cooking come through. With Puritan, you can cut down on saturated fat, and I promise your family won't miss it.
94% unsaturated Puritan oil from Crisco. Trust Crisco, because you're cooking for your family.
They say they'll get you a loan. No credit needed, no questions asked. So why won't they talk to 2020? Is it really money for nothing?
2020 Friday.
Parents concerned about the quality of children's TV? Tomorrow, what you can do to make it better.
Also, Paul McCartney will be here on Good Morning America tomorrow.
The head of our little delegation was Bud McFarlane, my former boss. He was flying to Tehran as Ronald Reagan's personal envoy. No mission from the land of the great Satan could be expected to be greeted with flowers, which is why we were traveling under phony names and false passports, courtesy of the CIA.
Now, speaking of the CIA, I know you weren't looking at the picture, but you know the picture well. A couple of faces are boxed out there. You had members of the CIA along on the trip with you.
We did.
When you arrived, you had every expectation that you would be met, if not by a high-ranking delegation, at least by a mid-level delegation. What actually happened when you got there?
Well, we weren't met at all. In fact, we had been led to believe that we were going to meet, probably not at the airport, but shortly after we arrived with then Speaker of the Parliament, or the Majlis, Hashemi Rafsanjani. And we'd been told that by Monitor Ghorbanifar. In point of fact, we waited...
Now, Ghorbanifar was the arms dealer who acted as sort of an intermediary.
The initial intermediary, the one provided to us by the Israeli
government. So when you got there and there was no one there to meet you...
We waited.
How long?
Oh, it was a protracted period of time, and it was very hot. The reception center had been stripped, essentially. Eventually, after a phone call, Ghorbanifar and a delegation arrived in a dilapidated convoy of what appeared to be used cars and delivered us forthwith to the former Tehran Hilton.
I've got to pick up on a couple of things that have been mentioned in the past, but one that we heard at the top of this broadcast. So Bill Casey, before you left, hands you this little package with, what, poison pills?
I thankfully never had to open them, but I took that to be what indeed they were for.
You must have had some times over the last 5 years when you, when you considered that package.
No, I have, in point of fact, I don't know what would have happened if it had all gone the wrong way, whether I would have been able to do that or not.
But it was that uncertain a mission when you went over to Tehran.
It was. There was no doubt great concern that this group would be acknowledged, get back, not make it all the way. The uncertainty was what added to the danger of it.
Now, I want to pick up on a few of what are really trivialities, but they're sort of fun trivialities because so much attention was focused on them when it first came out at the time. There was the story of the Bible. There was the story of the pistols. And, of course, there was the story of the famous chocolate cake in the shape of a key.
Yeah.
You want to clarify that?
Well,
pick up with the chocolate cake.
The chocolate cake was actually a gift that Ghorbanifar wanted to give to his mother. He had asked Nir and I to provide, get the cake.
Amram, the Israeli who was traveling as a member of the U.S.
delegation. And Nir and I had gone to a kosher delicatessen in Tel Aviv, picked up the cake that Ami had ordered, and we put it on the airplane with us.
Key-shaped cake?
No, just a plain rectangular cake about the size of my notebook here. It was in a box. I put it in the sink of the galley of the aircraft. Above the galley, in the cabinets above, I had placed the 3 boxes of pistols that we had gotten. Each pistol box had in it a key, and the key was inserted in the little decorative lock. When I opened the cabinet to get some coffee cups out for coffee en route, one of the keys vibrated loose, landed in the middle of the cake where the top of the box is up off it, and lodged itself in the cake in such a way that it really messed up the decorative icing. I took the key, laid it flat down in the cake, and joked with, I believe, George Cave, that this would be taken as the key to open up her heart to us for Mrs. Ghorbanifar. that whole story got somehow convoluted over, as so many others did, that it was a key-shaped cake that the United States had brought as a gift to, I guess, the Ayatollah.
What ultimately happened to the cake?
The cake, according to what I saw, the cake was eaten by the Revolutionary Guards who were protecting us.
Guarding you.
And keeping us while we were there.
In the minute or so that we have left in this segment, sort of wrap up for us then. What actually, I mean, at flank speed here, what actually happened then during those negotiations? Certainly in listening to the tapes, it sounded as though it was arms for hostages. I mean, whatever the lead up to it was.
Well, there is no doubt, Ted, and I don't think anybody who is involved in this could say otherwise, that what this whole initiative began as a truly straightforward effort to open a new entree to Iran became arms for hostages. And certainly by the time we were in Tehran in May of 1986, it became a straight barter arrangement as to how many of what would be exchanged for how many living hostages.
It was, of course, that mission ended up being a total failure, and you had to leave. But you seem to feel that if only a little more patience had been shown, maybe a few more hours even, you would have gotten a couple of hostages out.
I believed that then, and I believe it today. I think if we had been more patient, if we had contacted Washington for the permission that would have been required to accept less than all of the hostages, that we could have brought at least 2 of them home.
And why didn't you wait?
Bud's instructions were that it was all or nothing. And
Bud McFarlane?
Yes.
He was the leader of the delegation?
He was the head of the delegation.
And he wasn't willing to call back home?
No, he was not.
Because?
You'd have to ask Bud why. He very clearly said to me and to Howard Teicher and to everyone else that his instructions were all or nothing.
All of the attention on overseas missions that you've made have focused either on Iran or the Contras, but there was a mission that you had in which you went to London to meet with Manuel Noriega. I'd like you just to take a pause right now, take a deep breath. When we come back, we'll talk about that mission, the Noriega mission, in a moment.
This Nightline exclusive will continue after these messages.
If you don't have AT&T 800 service and trouble hits, who knows how long you could be out? Only AT&T automatically protects you through the 800 assurance policy. With AT&T, you would be guaranteed back in touch in 30 minutes or less. With anyone else? Who knows? But if you do have AT&T, your 800 service is guaranteed. That's not all. Since AT&T connects calls faster and has the fewest blocked calls, more 800 calls get through. So you can make more sales. With all that, why choose any other 800 service? Better service, better results. Another AT&T advantage. Call about our 800 offer.
Well, here it is, gentlemen. Top of the world. Now, I put my camera here. Your vehicle would face out over the cliffs. What do you think? Look, if you plan to claim your vehicle's as good as a Jeep, you really need this shot in your commercial.
How are we going to get our vehicle up here?
Helicopter. We'll lift